She put me back on her private story, posted this, and then took me off of her private story. A little disclaimer for today's video. This is all my opinion. This is what I noticed and how I felt about the situation, and no need to get upset. We're not on speaking levels at all, blocked and everything, so if she finds this is my opinion, and I'll be happy I'm not saying her name, so let's get on with it. Okay, so let's start from the very beginning. What do I call her? Joe? Let's go Joe. I met her on Facebook. Like, we had a class of 2023 group chat on Facebook. This all happened 2018-ish, November of like 2018, and we started talking on Facebook, and just like, not on Facebook, like on Snapchat. We got each other's Snapchats, we started talking. Everything seemed fine, like we had similar interests, but not a ton, but it was fine. It all seemed fine there, and we decided to be roommates in like January, so that's fine. And like the weekend after we decided to be roommates, I was working, because I worked almost every single weekend being a birthday party host at my job. So I was like doing stuff with little kids, and I could not be on my phone, and also my phone started going crazy just like the second weekend after. And she was just like, I'm doing shopping, what are our color schemes and all this stuff, and she just kept texting me nonstop, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's fine. I'm like, I really should have thought of that as a sign, but I didn't. And then we pick our rooms in like May. Oh, let me throw this fan off in case that's in the background. We pick our rooms in May, and I needed her roommate code and her ID number, and like she wouldn't give it to me until like a few hours before we had to pick, and it was ridiculous because at the time, my senior year, I hurt my knee and I could not really go up steps, so I kind of wanted a first floor in that case. So yeah, I got the first floor, but it was a mess. But that was fine. So I just kept talking. Like, I wouldn't talk to her until like 2 in the afternoon or so, because I wasn't really like texting people in the mood to text people. So like I texted her around 2 in the afternoon every single day, and just basic stuff, and like we never really talked all that much, but we talked about some things, and oh, we'll get along so well. No, but it was fine. What I really should have taken into consideration was like the day before move-in, there was a whole bunch of like, you know, freshman orientation, all these activities that happen and all that. Sorry if you can hear my computer, it always acts up. I have notes on it. She texted me that she didn't want to do any of it, and I was like, oh, I kind of need to meet friends, and that's the only way to meet friends when you don't know anyone in your class. So that was awkward. And then we met each other the next day. I had to get my ID programmed for the door, because we use our IDs for the door, and she was already there. Like, so she picked the bigger side of the room, which is fine. So my parents were talking to her, and my parents just like got this vibe that we weren't gonna get along at all. Like, she made all these jokes and stuff with them, and yeah, and my sister and I kind of look somewhat alike. Like, I don't know, but we don't look enough alike. Sorry, I'm trying to find a picture. Look enough alike for us to be like, oh, that's her. No, we don't look that much alike. So that was weird. Just so I'm looking. So yeah, my parents said that we wouldn't get along, and let's give you some background information about her. So she worked at a farm, so she always smelled like poop no matter what. She didn't work every single weekend, she worked every single day. Like, she worked like 2 times a month, but she always smelled like poop. And she always had dirty dishes everywhere, and that will come into play later, and she never cleaned. So all those things would come into play later. So I met some friends like through the first few weeks of school, and this one friend was like, oh yeah, I texted her too, like, because her roommate went to the same school as her, and apparently everyone in that town knows that she's bad news, because everyone I've talked to from the town was like, oh yeah, no. But her roommate talked to her, and well, not her roommate, this girl talked to her, and was like, she told me about how her teacher, one of her like best friend teachers, was like trying to help her pick out a roommate, and she's like, yeah, stay away from that girl. So wish I would have known that. But yeah. Oh, and some more background information. Her dad had died like this fall or spring before school, so she never really met him. She's an only child raised by her mom, so she had a lot of bitter resentment against it. So that was like bad news there. But so what happened was, then it was like the second day of school started, and I got a call that I was placed in the wrong math class. So I was placed in intermediate algebra and I should have been in calculus. So I had to like quickly do a change for that. And that night she came back into her room. Well, it was actually like afternoon because my class got done around 2. She got done around like 3 something. So she was back and she was all upset. And she just blamed me, saying that she didn't get into choir because she failed her audition because I made her nervous because I got placed in the wrong math class. What? I don't know how that works, but anyways. So then about 2 weeks into school or so, I met my boyfriend and we started dating like a few weeks later, and she got really jealous of that situation, and that will come into play even more as the story goes on. But let me pull up the conversation. So she got jealous. Oh, nothing saved. Yay. But anyways, she got super jealous and started talking crap to one of my friends, and like he was really close to me, so he told me everything and put in a group chat about how she was just going off about how blah blah blah, she has a boyfriend, blah blah blah, like I don't like her, all this other stuff. And it's just like, I don't even want to like say it all, I don't remember it all, but like she talked, I don't even know how bad it was. So bad, all these F-bombs were being thrown, and he told me all about it. Like, why would you even talk to one of my friends about it? Like, he was like, told me everything. I told him everything that people said about him, so like, it worked there. But yeah, so that happened, and I texted her that night, and I'm like, if you really don't want to live with me, I have friends who want to move from their room, and she was friends with that friend's roommate, so like, we're just like, hey, we can switch rooms. But she didn't want to leave the first floor room, which understandable, but I also picked out the room, so like, yeah. So then it was kind of an ongoing thing, but she always talked about her sex life, always, like her doing it in like Michigan, her doing it everywhere, like her doing it with all these high schoolers. Like I don't need to know about that, like I don't want to know about that. She's like, I'll teach you how to do this and do that. I'm like, I'm good, I don't want to do it. Like, I came from a private school, I don't need to know that. So yeah, that was awkward all the time. And also when I would ask her to move, she would just be like, no, I'll just move next year, I'm just not gonna live with you next year. So I'm like, thanks, but if you have the opportunity to move now, and there's people who want to move with you and there's people who want to move with me, like, why would you just move? Like, it would make things so much easier. We both don't really get along with each other, so just switch it up. And so that happened, and then the next weekend I went home for the first time. So this was like 3 weeks into school, somewhere around there. I went home for homecoming. It was the first time I went home, and my dad and sister dropped me off because they needed my car for something. So when they came back, they helped me make my bed and helped me just do all this stuff. And my dad, she was there all weekend by herself, and she never once, I always took out the trash before I left, but the trash was not full when I left, so I didn't take it out. And I came back and the trash was overflowing. It was hot, like no fan was turned on, the windows were all shut, and we also have a bathroom like in our room, like that's how our college is. She never turned the fan on when she showered, so it was hot. And my dad said it smelled like hot trash and he couldn't concentrate, so he asked my sister to take it out. And by the time my sister was going to take it out, she got up out of her bed and took it out. It was disgusting, and that was the only time I ever saw her take out the garbage, ever. So after that, like, now we're moving into like October time. Like, I tried to get along with her like as best as possible, but it just progressively got worse. So one of the first things that happened was she met this guy. He kind of like blocked her on everything, stopped talking to her, because she said that she was pregnant. Like, she had like a big pregnancy scare, but she wouldn't buy pregnancy tests. Sorry. She wouldn't buy pregnancy tests. So I had to buy her a pregnancy test. Stupid of me to do. Waste of money. But I had to buy it for her. Like, do you know how many times like people locked her in our bathroom and tried to take it and she refused to take it? This went on for like 2 or 3 weeks. Like, she's like, I'm not getting my period, I'm pregnant. But then refused to take a pregnancy test. So it was so stupid. She eventually bought another pregnancy test and took it and realized she wasn't pregnant, and then her period came. But it was like, just take the test and you know. Like, my one friend, the guy friend who talked to me earlier, like, he was like, if this was my girlfriend, I'd want to know, so just take the test. But she refused, like, every single time. And then as like the semester went on, little things just kind of happened. Like, she stopped going to her 8 a.m. Tuesday Thursday class, slept through it, and then every once in a while, like whenever she would go someplace, like go hang out with her guy friends or do something, she would turn her location off, like on Snap Maps, and then turn it back on when she was on campus. So super odd, and she wouldn't ever tell me where she went, which is fine, but like, we were sharing a room. It's kind of weird when she's not back until like midnight every single night, and you don't know where she is because her location's off. And like, she progressively just kept talking more crap, and I just kept hearing it from my friends. And one thing that, okay, that really bothered me, but like, this isn't even like the bad part yet, is she would let her friends sleep in my bed when I was gone and eat in my bed, and there are stains on my sheets from them doing that. And apparently she let them do it all the time when I was gone. It was disgusting. Like, I don't know, don't let unless your roommate gives you permission, don't let them just go on your bed. It's gross. So like, this is backstepping a little bit. This is about the time like she had the pregnancy scare. Just a little bit before that, she got a call from her mom, and like, this was the last time she ever called her mom in her room, because like, you can hear like people talking over the phone. And her mom was telling, sorry, people are like, there's a meeting going on. People were she was telling her to go to therapy because there's free counseling on campus. Yeah, I really regret hearing that, but it was so bad. Like, yeah. The fact that even your mom's telling you to go to therapy says something about your mental health. So now this is going back into like October, 2 weeks before my birthday. My birthday is October 29th, so like end of the month. We went shopping at the mall. There's like a big mall in here, like in the area, and I went shopping with my boyfriend. We went to Chick-fil-A, and she came along with us. Like, I drove her down and all that stuff, and we met my boyfriend over there. And we were just like my boyfriend and I were walking around and stuff, walking around Shields, if you guys know what that is, kind of like a Dick's Sporting Goods. And she got lost from us, so she was texting my boyfriend where we were, not texting me, texting my boyfriend. And she's like, if you don't come here now, I'm gonna stab you with a knife that's over here. And I'm just kind of like, well, okay then. So there's that. And then like the next weekend, I went home again. Yeah, I went home. Yeah, it was the weekend before my birthday. And I went home, and my boyfriend and she's like, she texted him that he had to go birthday shopping with her because she knew the perfect gift to give me. So he went with her, and it was just, he said it was super awkward. She kept trying to get as close as possible to him as possible, and yeah, and she always tag him in Facebook stuff and memes. Yeah, weird. But yeah, so now this is like end of October, beginning of November. Every Wednesday I had a late class that went from 4:15 to 7:05 every Wednesday. And this was the first time this happened. I get a text, and it was kind of out of nowhere, and she says, hey, don't come to the room right now. blah 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 is over. And this is like the first time this happened, and I'm like, okay, that's fine, just keep it off my bed. She's like, I will. And so it was fine. And then once my class was done, I texted her and I'm like, hey, my class is done, I'm coming back to my room. And she texted me back and she's like, it's fine, you can come back now, nothing's going on. I'm like, okay, that's good. So I came back and I FaceTimed my boyfriend because I didn't want to like not be talking to anyone and have a weird guy in there with her while I'm in there. And the entire time, like, they were cuddling next to each other and he was snapping her thong, and it was just weird and awkward and just weird. And then they left and did it in the A&W parking lot in her car. But yeah, so then the second week of November she stopped talking, like we both just kind of stopped talking to each other overall, besides like saying hi when we got into the room, but that was about it. And she would always like go to the bathroom as soon as I come into the room and stay in there for like an hour watching TikToks, and just, yeah, I didn't use the bathroom when I really needed to go, but it's fine, that's fine. And then she started, okay, I was in like, that was kind of a toxic friendship, which I got out of, but she started spreading lies about my relationship, and it was just kind of awkward because I would hear it from like this friend who I think wanted to create drama, because obviously it created more drama in the process, and that will come back later into play. But everything just kind of went south from there. Like, we just stopped talking altogether, and then Thanksgiving came, and Thanksgiving break happened, and I was fine, everything was fine, life was going good. And I get a text because it was a really bad snowstorm. She's like, hey, drive safe. I'm like, okay, thank you. We come back, like, she doesn't talk to me at all. So there's that. And then all of this progressively happens in 1 week. So she would always ditch her 8 a.m. and I would get ready for my 11 a.m. that day. And usually she'd be gone because she'd go to breakfast with this one friend that caused a lot of issues. And so I opened the blinds as soon as she left, and I wear contacts and I'm blind without them, like can't see in front of my face. So I go and I open the blinds. She's apparently under the covers and I didn't notice. I couldn't see anything, so I felt really bad about it, but I didn't really say anything because we weren't talking. So yeah. And oh shoot, this is backstepping the entire way. So first week of school, I'll probably cut this and just put it in the first week of school, or maybe not, it'll stay right here. It was like the first day of classes, so I had 9:30 and then turned into 8 a.m. because, you know, math class got switched. She had her TV on like 30 volume every single night, going to sleep. I couldn't sleep like through it every single night. And then she got like Christmas lights and she like put them up through her room, kept them on all the time, burned a hole in our curtain. In the curtain. Yeah, I had to contact the RA about it to make sure that I wouldn't get charged for that. But yeah, so I couldn't sleep because it was so bright, so loud, and I have really bad light sensitivities when I sleep. Like, I sleep in pitch black and I can't deal with sound when I sleep because I sleep in the basement away from everyone in my house. So that was weird and it was awkward, and I eventually just got like earplugs and a sleeping mask to help with that, and that kind of like goes into play with where we are now, this week where everything blew up. So the first night I had the earplugs, her friend came over and they were screaming while I was trying to sleep, like screaming, and it was a nightmare. It was after quiet hours too, because quiet hours hits around 11 and it was like midnight, and I had an 8 a.m. that morning, and it was calculus and I had an exam, and I was just not living life, and it was just so bad. So then this was Tuesday of that week, and I invited my boyfriend over to go watch my sister play basketball, and it was about an hour away. So we go to the game, like, he comes back, we eat dinner, and then he leaves. But like, right as he was, because they did not get along, right as he was leaving, she opens the door and comes in, because she was over at her friend's room, which was like the other room right next to us. And all of a sudden, like, she comes in and I was like, oh, he's just leaving, he just came to watch my sister's basketball game, because it was an hour away. Like, we drove an hour to go see her play basketball. And it was all fine until like she started texting her friends right after, saying about he was there, and it was blah 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 blah. And I was just kind of like, okay, whatever. I just kind of like, I'm not a person for confrontation. Like, I just kind of brush things off. And because I was raised around sisters, I kind of like ignore things and kind of just like get in my little bubble. So that next day, I had my late class. But during lunch that day, so I stopped going to my room between classes and just stayed in the union all day long. But during that late class, or during lunch that day, right before that late class, she decides to, I gotta find it, post on her story. And this was about our friend group, but I thought it was about me because she didn't clarify it at the time. So I screenshotted it because I wanted proof of it. And this is what it said. Aren't we supposed to be adults? Aren't we supposed to be over the talking about each other and the petty little, sorry, I don't want to say it. Isn't the pointless drama supposed to be like done? Shouldn't we come to each other with the issues and not hear it from others? Why are we pretending to like people if we really don't? Oh no, that's not how it works. Well, I was under the assumption that when I graduated high school that would all be over. Sadly mistaken. If you don't like me for who I am, then kindly leave my life. I'm doing the best I can with what God gave me, and if you don't want to support me through it, then don't let the door hit you where the good Lord split you. So I thought that was about me. If you get anything from what's going on, I thought that was about me. And she started texting me, and I would just like ignore it for a little bit, and then open it, and then I don't want to say the conversation because it just kind of was like, basically, let me pull it up. But I was like, why'd you post that about me? And she's like, it's not about you, it's not about you, not everything's about you. And I kind of was just like, ugh. And because, okay, so she had a private story. This was the whole reason for it, why I screenshot it. She posted us on her private story. And she took me off of it, like, when we stopped talking in November. And this was, like, end of November. And so she put me back on her private story, posted this, and then took me off of her private story after I screenshotted it. And she just was just like, so you screenshot everyone's supposed to be like, no, I don't. I just do it when they're about me. And she's like, whatever. And I was just like, you're getting really defensive, and I really don't appreciate that. And she's like, I don't need your permission to post anything. And I'm not mad at you, I'm mad at your boyfriend for harassing me. He would send her TikToks, like he sends everyone TikToks, like whatever, it's not that big of a deal. And basically it just kind of like, it's like, it just went into, she was texting me throughout my entire class, and I was like working on stuff for my final project at this time, and she just like kept going, and then she just went into it. I'm gonna call the cops on him, that's harassment, I'm gonna call the cops on him. And I was like, oh, whatever. And basically it just kept going on about her saying how she's gonna call the cops on him and that she has to take finals and she can't pass her classes because of him. And basically it's, and I just kind of was like, you go to the bathroom whenever I'm there, you don't talk to me. And I was just like, she's like, I'm trying to resolve this peacefully. I'm like, no you're not, you're not doing that. And she's like, if he comes on campus at all, I'm calling the cops. And I'm like, okay, whatever. In our roommate agreement, it doesn't say anything about learning and all this other stuff. And so that happened. And then when I came back from that class, like 7:15, I came back from the class. She was not in her room. She was at her friend's room with different building, and she was talking to the RA about how much she hated me and my boyfriend and all this other stuff. So there's that. Then she went to the community center and got the AC, the area coordinator, involved to set up a meeting. And this is where everything kind of just gets crazy. So she comes back to her room after it. So during the text, she goes, I can't talk right now, I'm in a meeting. I'm like, thanks. And she's like, when she comes back, she goes, we have a meeting with Mary. We have a meeting with Mary at 3:20 tomorrow. Be there. I'm like, oh, could I get an email for proof, because I like to have things written down. And she's like, no. So she put it on the little whiteboard that's right there. And that was it. And I put it on the whiteboard. I'm like, please next time schedule a meeting with my permission, because sometimes I have meetings after my class, which is done at 2, and it goes to like 4, and I'm like at these meetings and I can't do anything about it. So the next day I was so scared about this meeting all day that I was kind of like in knots about it. And then this one friend, the toxic one, let's get her back involved, was talking to her. She's like, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine. I just want to let you know, in her streaks today, she posted a picture of her at the police station on campus, because we have an on-campus police station. And I'm like, what? And she's like, don't worry, it's probably just gonna be there just in case things get out of hand. Lovely. Like, way to set my anxiety even more through the roof. So like, here's a journal of everything that I've written down for that meeting, because I wanted to have proof. So we come into that meeting, and I first say to the AC, Aunt Mary, I'm like, next time can I just get an email when the meeting's scheduled? And she goes, oh, you're supposed to. I'm like, yeah, they didn't do that. And she's like, and whatever her name is, Joe, says, oh, I just told them that I'd tell you myself. And I'm like, oh, I'd really appreciate an email next time. And basically what happened in that meeting is crazy. So she scheduled the meeting, so I let her talk first, and she's basically, I'm uncomfortable around her boyfriend. And I said, I've been uncomfortable since week 2. And we just talked through everything. Lots of tears from my end. Her end was nothing. And basically everything that I've said here, I said in there, and she just said her boyfriend pinned her down on the floor. Hi, just feature me editing the video just a little hours later. I'd like to add that at that meeting, when I said that she didn't really clean because the floors were always dirty, and I don't have pictures or proof because I just kind of erased all that from everything, and like I would clean the floors and they'd be like black, like the rags would be black. And she said that she got on her hands and knees every other day to clean the floors, and literally like a few days after she moved out, sorry to spoil it, I cleaned and everything was black and it was disgusting. So, and when she did move out, she didn't take her cleaning supplies. So if that says anything about her cleaning habits, there you go. And made me feel uncomfortable. He never did that. Never did that. Clarifying it right now. Never did that. And yeah. So that's basically how the meeting went. It ended up with the AC telling us to fix our roommate agreement for living for right now, and then one of us has to move out. She moved out. Moved right down the hall, 2 doors down, so I could always see her. That night, I come back to my room after, I didn't go back to my room after that meeting. I didn't go back to my room for a while. I ate dinner and came back around like 6 or 7. I don't know if I have a video of this. I don't know. But when I came back, her TV was gone, her clothes were gone, a lot of her stuff was gone, except for some little things like her bed sheets were still there, all the food under her bed was still there, like all that was still there. But she took a lot of her stuff and left and never came back until moving day. So after that happened, I felt like in a really bad situation, like really uncomfortable. She moved the next Thursday, and I found out about it through that toxic friend who's just like, oh yeah, didn't you hear she's moving today? I'm like, no, I did not hear that she's moving today. And she's like, yeah, her big scary stepdad's gonna come in case things get out of hand. Why do you keep making it worse? Like, the two of them are literally like terrible, like, together. So they moved out, and my boyfriend came just in case, like, because I didn't want to be alone. My mom said my dad would have driven an hour and a half to be here if my boyfriend couldn't be here. Like, that's how bad it was. And I wasn't in my room when she moved out because I did not want to face her. So she moved out, and then when I tried to get back into my room, like after she was done moving, my key didn't work, like, because it's like all card. It would not work. I went to the front desk at the community center. It worked there, but it would not work on my door. And the maintenance man had to come and reprogram the door so my door worked. And then that night, we had a whiteboard on our door, which I took off after that night. Things were drawn on it. I'm not gonna say what, but things were drawn on it, and by her new roommate's friends. And yeah, made me in tears, cried my mom at like midnight about it, but yeah. So then that happened, and throughout this whole time while she was not living there, she commuted, and she let all her food mold under the bed. Yay. But not just her food under the bed. Throughout the year, she had like soup sitting on the counter, like our little sink counter, like a soup bowl full of soup. She let it sit for like a month. Yeah, disgusting, but like just those little things. And just when I thought everything was done with it, I get an email with things that she said, and I had to tell her my roommate was just trying to cause issues. Yeah. So that happened. Lovely. And then I still saw her in the halls, and basically, yeah, that fake friend, that toxic one, was just like trying to stir up even more drama. I was just be like, yeah, when we were in the car with her, she was calling her mom and just ranting about you, and just like everything was done, so like she didn't have to say anything more, but she did. And like I stopped being friends with her that next semester, and even more drama happened. She tried to cause issues with one of my friends, being like, yeah, she was a fake friend to me the entire time we were friends, and all this other stuff. And it was just kind of like, stop. Like, it's just, yeah. And I found out then from one of her friends that was no longer friends because she went crazy, because we became friends and we're in a friend group together. She blocked her on everything too, saying like, you have to choose sides, you can't be with both of us. Like, I'm like, I don't care, like, you can be friends with both of us, it doesn't matter. She's like, oh yeah, I can see from your side she made you look terrible, but like, you're really not that bad. And so there's that. So now she's blocked by everything too. And I only saw this Joe in the halls every so often. Like, when I would see her in the halls, it would be extreme anxiety, like it was so bad. But I haven't seen her since, and it's been like over a year. And I don't know if it's because I heard she failed 4 of her 5 classes her first semester and what happened, but fingers crossed to never see her again. But yeah, there's my roommate story. If I don't want to say anything more, my boyfriend wants to come on and say some things that might come in or might not, but I just want to tell my story about how everything happened. I'm sorry it's not as interesting as some people's, but in my perspective, it was terrible. It caused me a lot of depression, anxiety. She's the reason why I go home every single weekend, because I cannot be at school because of what happened on weekends. Like, I just need to be around my family. So there's that. And yeah, she's just out of my life now. And if you guys, this is just a warning for anyone who's having roommate issues. If your roommate, if you and your roommate do not get along, please move. It will help you guys so much. Help your, just everything, your grades, everything will just improve. And just please listen to me on that. Just try. You can learn from my mistakes and just move. Like, so much better, worth the money. Just do it. That's all I have for you today. Like, subscribe, and comment down below if you want to see more videos like this. And be sure to watch all my other videos. See you next time.